Orcas: Why Captivity Kills. How do you feel about orcas being held in captivity at marine parks like SeaWorld? Explain. Orcas are commonly known as killer whales and are the largest members of the dolphin family. They have long, black rounded bodies with patches of white around their eyes and the undersides of their stomachs. They have a dorsal fin in the middle of their backs, and they are toothed whales. Orcas are highly social and intelligent creatures that live in matrilineal pods. They are among the fastest of marine mammals, and they are apex predators. There are currently 58 captive orcas being held at marine amusement parks throughout the world. As of 2013, 159 orcas have died in captivity, and there have been 30 stillbirths and miscarriages, respectively. In the wild, healthy orcas are capable of living lifespans equivalent to that of humans. Males can live 60 to 70 years, and females can live 80 to 100 years. Orcas often die in their teens and 20s in captivity due to the extreme stress, injury, disease, and infections. There has been only one recorded act of aggression by a wild orca towards a human, whereas captive orcas have been involved in numerous acts of aggression, including attacks, injuries, and 3 human deaths. Tilikum is the largest whale being held in captivity, weighing 12,500 pounds and is over 22 feet long. Now over 30 years old, he was captured near Iceland when he was only 2. He was transferred to a marine park in Canada called Sealand of the Pacific, where he was made to perform and live in a 100 by 50 foot pool that was only 35 feet deep, with 2 female orcas who often attacked him viciously. Food was frequently withheld from Tilikum, and the stress gave him stomach ulcers, among other things. In 1991, he pulled a Sealand trainer into the enclosure and drowned her, which closed the park and put Tilikum up for sale. SeaWorld purchased Tilikum to further their breeding program. Today, 50% of the orcas at SeaWorld have Tilikum's genes. Tilikum has been involved in numerous acts of aggression and has exhibited abnormal repetitive behavior, such as chewing on the metal gates and concrete. He killed again in 1999, and recently, trainer Dawn Brancho in 2010, who he scalped and dismembered before drowning her. After Brancho's death, Tilikum was kept in isolation in a tiny enclosure. He has been seen floating listlessly, another abnormal behavior. A year later, he returned to performing, but it is argued that the stress of captivity makes orcas like Tilikum a ticking time bomb, and that he may kill again. Tilikum was the central focus of the 2013 documentary Blackfish. Blackfish essentially put SeaWorld and other marine parks on blast for the direct cause and effect relationship between orca captivity and orca violence. Almost all captive orcas, particularly the males, exhibit collapsed dorsal fins due to the lack of space to swim and their unnatural diet of thawed fish. This is a sign of an unhealthy orca and is very rarely seen in the wild. Due to stress, exhaustion, and sheer boredom, captive orcas exhibit abnormal repetitive behaviors, also called stereotypic behaviors, such as chewing metal and concrete, which breaks their teeth, straining themselves for minutes at a time, which can crush their organs under their weight, floating listlessly when they should be swimming 100 miles a day, bobbing their heads, pacing and circling their tanks, and banging their heads off the sides of their tanks. Several whales have been seen lying in no-movement, seizure-like states. Aggression towards the other whales leaves many orcas with rake marks on their skin. Orcas are meant to swim up to 100 miles a day in the wild and dive up to 1,000 feet. SeaWorld's tanks are only 350 feet long and 50 feet deep, which means that in order to swim what they would in the wild, they would have to swim more than 1,500 lengths back and forth a day. In the wild, orcas are extremely social and family-oriented. Their family bonds are the basis of their species. They travel in groups called pods, which usually consist of 5 to 30 whales led by mothers, grandmothers, and often great-grandmothers. In some cases in captivity, calves are violently ripped away from their mothers and families to form artificial ones, with orcas that they may not be compatible with. With nowhere to run or hide in their tanks, this incompatibility often leads to fights that result in injury and even death. After the capture of orcas became illegal in the United States, marine parks resorted to artificially inseminating whales to easily produce babies. However, this unnatural method of reproduction, especially when the female is impregnated by a blood relative to produce an inbred calf, the female often rejects, neglects, and abuses her baby. In the wild, a female will give birth to about 5 calves in her lifetime, between the ages of 13 and 15, and requires a total of 4.5 years to properly birth and nurse her young. In captivity, however, females are forced to breed at as young as 6 years old and birth several calves in a short period of time. Sound is essential for orcas to socialize, hunt, and navigate, as they have no sense of smell. Each orca pod has their own distinct accent, which enables their family groups to communicate with one another. Because captive orcas are placed into artificial family groups, they oftentimes do not even speak the same language. In some cases, such as the case with a whale named Lolita in the Miami Seaquarium, there are no other orcas. Orcas like Lolita often call out to no one, and their vocalizations reverberate off of their tanks, which drives them insane. Orcas' diet in the wild usually consists of fish, squid, seals, sea lions, walruses, birds, sea turtles, otters, penguins, polar bears, reptiles, sharks, octopus, and smaller whales. Orca pods often work together to catch their food. Orcas eat up to 5% of their body weight each day, which equals out to about 500 pounds of food. Because captive orcas are unable to hunt and obtain water from prey, they are given unnatural diets, including a substance called gelatin, which is made up of pig and cow bones, and buckets of iced dead fish. This is how we should see orcas. And not like this. Take 2 minutes and write down your final thoughts on orca captivity.